Olympic track and field is officially over, but my head is still spinning from watching the fastest men in the world go at it. In the open 100-meter dash, we got to watch the fastest 100-meter final from top to bottom. No, Usain Bolt wasn't on the track, but we have never watched 8 men run that fast in an Olympic final together. By now you know that Noah Lyles got the victory by the smallest margin that we've ever seen in an Olympic final. But even if you didn't have him as your pick to win the race, which I did, it should not be a surprise that we still had 2 Americans and 1 Jamaican on the podium in that event. Yet the 200-meter dash was even more surprising because Letsile Tebogo of Botswana took the gold medal by force. You have to understand that 3 American men were right behind him in that race, going silver, bronze, and fourth. Considering that everything I've said up until now is just stating facts, you should be able to figure out which nation was supposed to win the gold medal in the 4x1. But if you were watching that final race, then you know that the American men ruined the relay again, because they've been doing this for over 20 years now. So the door was left wide open for Canada to win the gold, with South Africa and Great Britain right behind them. And there's a whole bunch that I could say about all of those teams, but that's not who I'm focused on at the moment, because once I went back to watch the race a few times, one nation caught my eye, and I wasn't checking for them at least until that race. Japan was in the Olympic final, running in the 4x1 of all races. And they finished in 5th, but that's very misleading, because they were actually winning the race, not just halfway through, but at the moment they handed off the baton to their anchor leg. We are talking about a nation that didn't have 1 man in the Olympic final for either the 100, the 200, or the 400. Simply put, they do not have any of the world's fastest men on that team. I would argue that Team USA represents everything that's wrong with the 4x1 relay right about now. But to be honest with you, Japan is the exact opposite of what they're doing. Because even though they don't have any of the world's fastest men, at least individually, it didn't stop them from putting together one of the fastest relays that the world has ever seen. And if it wasn't for Akani Simbini and Jarnell Hughes, who actually are some of the world's fastest men, because they have run in the Olympic final for the 100-meter dash before, then it would be Japan, who likely would have an Olympic medal in the 4x1 at this moment. So let's have a real conversation about a 4x100-meter relay team that was never supposed to be fast enough to not only make a world final, but compete for a medal when they get there. Figured out how to get to the home stretch of a 4x1 ahead of every single team in the rest of the world. Because no matter which way you look at it, that was not supposed to happen. And after watching Team USA jack up the relay again, I'm starting to think that maybe we should learn a few lessons from the team that is supposed to be behind us. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best track and field recruits across the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. I don't mean any disrespect to the men on the Japanese 4x1 relay team. I'm actually trying to give them all the credit in the world, because they are maxing out all of the speed that they have, and I am going to prove it to you. Before I go any further, I do need to make it clear that Japan is not a one-hit wonder. They actually have a World Championship bronze medal from the year 2019, which is really not that long ago. That was also the same year that America actually got to stick around competently. Noah Lyles running on an anchor leg, with Christian Coleman at the leadoff and Justin Gatlin also on the team. They ran 37 low, like very low, and won the gold. But remember, Japan was not that far behind. They have made every Olympic and World Championship final from that year all the way up until now. For all I know, it could have been longer than that. I just got tired of Googling it. And in 2023, they finished 5th. The exact same position they finished during this Olympics. The only difference this time is, remember, they were in front of the race going into the anchor leg. And unlike Canada, who has basically been running the same team essentially since the year 2015, in practically the same order, Japan actually switches up the lineup as well as who's on that team. But you should know the men who ran for them during this Olympics, because they figured out how to get to stick around just about as fast as anybody could hope. Ryu Sakai is their leadoff, and he's a legitimate 100-meter runner. He's actually going as fast as 10.02 seconds. The only problem is, he hasn't done that in over 2 years. Yoshi Kariu ran their third leg, and he's actually broken the 10-flat barrier. But that was back in the year 2017. He's only gone as fast as 10.2 this year. Their anchor leg was Koki Uyama, who has never even broken 10.3 seconds in the 100-meter dash for his entire career. And that wasn't even in the past 2 years either. But there's a reason why I skipped over their second leg, because he's the only man whose name you probably might recognize. Abdul Hakim Thani Brown runs for Japan, but he used to compete for the University of Florida in the SEC. He was even there in the 100-meter dash final for the World Championships, both in 2023 and in 2022. So yes, he is actually pretty fast. Just keep in mind that World Athletics now gives out an overall ranking for sprinters across the world. And the 4 men I just mentioned, not one of them is ranked inside the top 150. Whichever way you want to look at the numbers, they keep coming out the same. Those 4 men were never supposed to be that fast in a 4x1 relay. To be 100% real with you, the 4x1 is not rocket science, but it is the most complex sprinting event that we have in track and field. Unlike the 4x4, where for the most part, you can throw an all-star team together as long as they understand the basics of handing off a baton. And they should be able to get the stick around and run incredibly fast. For that matter, whatever time you miss during the handoffs generally can be made up. I say generally, because no, you can't technically make it up, but you're just not going to trip that much over losing 0.1 or maybe 0.2, specifically on a race that's going to go up almost 3 minutes. But a 4x1 is supposed to be over in under 40 seconds. It's actually going to be under 38 if you want to win anything at the world level. So for that reason alone, you cannot afford to lose time during the exchanges. And that is exactly what Japan did at this present Olympics. During their leadoff leg, they weren't in front when they got to that exchange because every other nation in the world had at least a guy as fast, if not faster. They were actually in 5th on the splits. But by the time they got to that second to third leg and were making that baton pass, they were already in 1st during the race. They held that lead all the way through the 3rd turn and got it to their anchor leg. A man who's never broken 10.3 seconds in the open 100-meter dash, though it's logical that he might get ran down by somebody. But by that point, they weren't just in the race, they were out in front. So the only way to beat them was you were going to have an anchor leg who was incredibly fast and able to run like their life depended on it. I have no idea whether Japan is ever going to win a gold medal in the 4x1 at the Olympics or the World Championships. But the only thing that I do know is that they're certainly going to keep trying. If you can make a World Relay Final every single year since 2019, then you have a very legitimate sprint program, even if nobody notices. Because although the relay isn't rocket science, it is definitely not an accident. The only way to run fast in a 4x1 is you've got to know what you're doing with that baton. And even if you don't have any of the world's fastest runners technically on the clock, as long as you are fast enough and figure out that baton passing part, you can give yourself a chance to win. And apparently that's what Japan's been doing for the better part of the past decade, even though all signs are pointing to the fact that they were never supposed to be that fast to begin with. SCA track and field gear is here. Fast is a lifestyle, and what you wear should reflect that. Order yours at scarecruiting.com/shop or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.